Hey everybody, welcome back to 10-Minute Traveller. I'm going to be having a look at worlds, starships, and all of those good things. But to get started, I'm going to look at Book 2, which is the Starships book. And the very first part of the Starships book that you'll see on page 4 and 5 of the little black books. And there's a heading there that says Travelling, which I guess is the whole point of the game. Now, before we get into any of the actual ways that you can travel in the game, it breaks it down into two different sections: interplanetary travel and interstellar travel. Interplanetary travel being the use of the ships that go between different planets in a sector, essentially. Now, that's relatively easy to do in terms of navigation, in terms of piloting. Whereas interstellar travel requires the use of other skills like astrogation. You're going to need the computers more. Ultimately, I would guess that most players in a group would require both sets of skills. It's unusual to find somebody that's going to run a campaign based upon just one planet or a couple of planets in the same sector. Because you see, the whole point of the game, of course, is to travel, or is it? You can make the game whatever you want. If you want it to be based on trade or combat or whatever it is, you can do all of those cool things. For me, I think the fuel of the game is to find ways of getting the players to go to different places. Now, of course, these are completely whole worlds, and we've got games and we've got experience of only one world, really, and that's our own Earth. And in other games, you've got experience based upon one area or one world again. You don't tend to have multiple ones, where with Traveller you can have just an infinite amount of different places, different atmospheres, different localities, different geologies, or whatever it is. So to me, yeah, the whole point is to travel. Now, in the game, there are 4 different ways that you can travel as a civilian in the standard travelling routes that are available to go between the different systems. And they're breaking down into something called passages. Now, those passages are listed out when you have a look in the book, again on page 4 and 5. I'm just going to talk about the 4 that are in there. Some referees will have lots and lots of different variants on these, but they should usually be based around these 4. Okay, the first one is the high passage. This is the business class travel. Costs around 10,000 credits on average. It could cost more, could cost less, depending on the type of ship. And you can think of it as basically getting your own room, having your meals cooked for you, and having a place to go and be entertained, like a galley or even a bar or something like that on board the ship. Travelling in Traveller, especially when you're jumping between sectors, takes at least a week. So you are looking at having this room for a week. So imagine spending an entire week in a hotel room and only going to the bar and to the restaurant. That's, in a way, that's sort of the experience that you get. Now, the second type of passage is the medium passage. Now, the medium passage is only a couple of thousand credits less than a high passage. However, you'd probably be expected to be sharing with somebody in a stateroom. You'll have a decent amount of space. You'll have a decent amount of cargo that you can carry. And you will probably end up in the galley and even in the entertainment areas. But there'll be a decrease in the amount of privacy that you get, and also the ship's stewards probably won't pay as close attention to you. The working passage is an interesting one. Now, a ship going from A to B will normally have its pilot, its astrogator, its engineer. However, they might have openings for roles based upon those, especially in engineering. Or in medicine, a medical orderly or something like that. Stewarding, maybe. Entertainment, of course. Big passenger liners regularly have people who travel from or travel multiple jumps as the entertainment on board those ships, and they make their entire career out of that. So the working passage is a type of passage that you can get as a player. It shouldn't be underestimated as well. Although in my game, I think that it's quite important that the players do have a ship to mean that they can travel on their own. They may need to pay for that ship, fuel that ship, do all the running costs for that ship somehow, and maybe having staff on board that work their passage can actually help them. As I said, if you don't have a doctor, maybe getting somebody that needs to travel to a certain place but be the doctor on your ship is a good way of actually getting a free doctor, I suppose, depending on how much space you've got on the ship. The last type of passage is the low passage. The low passage is essentially a cryogenics tube. You are in suspended animation. Your body is slowed down to the point where essentially time doesn't move for you. Now, maybe if you're taking a huge trip, hundreds of sectors, that would take years potentially to travel, so being suspended could be a good thing. However, it comes with a lot of dangers. Sometimes there is a reasonable chance that a low passage berth will kill somebody, is the easiest way of putting it. As the referee of the game, I wouldn't recommend that to a referee, to say to the players, hey, you know, there's a 1 in 6 chance that you're not going to make it on the other side. And I do feel as a referee as well that you shouldn't really put the players through that. It's not a very good game, is it? You start a game, you enjoy a game, and then you die in suspended animation. However, for NPCs, maybe important NPCs, it could be something the players would have to think about. But if you do have to travel and you haven't got much money, it is the cheapest form of travel. It is around about 1,000 credits, and it will get you to where you need to go. It does have also another disadvantage, which is it's the lowest amount of cargo as well that you can carry. So those are the different types of passages that we've got: the high, the medium, the working, and the low. And your players will have to know about them, even if they aren't actually using them themselves. There's a really good chance to earn money they're going to be offering those out. Something that's going to be unusual for a role-playing game to some people coming to this from, let's take a classic like D&D. There'll be roles that need to be fulfilled, such as the steward, chef, medical, which you don't get in a lot of other games. So that can make it quite interesting for players that want to have a new challenge, do something different. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to be looking in my next videos at the way that the worlds are built, how that actually impacts the game, and then space travel itself and what we need to do for that too. Okay, so I'll catch you again on the next episode.